Okay guys, welcome to episode 4 of the Django and React series. And in this episode, I'm going to show you how to implement the lights mode, the dark mode and the lights mode feature. So you're going to learn about that in this current episode. I told you before, the link to each episode will be found in the video's description. So I have it here on GitHub. So every episode has their source code you get. So to make it easy for you to follow, right? So that's it. So now back to our code now. So currently in the last episode, we worked on routing, whereby you can route from one page to another, right? So in this episode now, I want to simply work on the lights mode and dark mode feature. So let's work on that next. So back to our code now. If you look at if you look at your components closely, for every component you have, you see that we always have there is this dark keyword. Let me just open one of the components, navbar. We always have this dark keyword that helps to point out the style our components we have whenever whenever we are on dark mode. By default, our styles uses lights mode. So this dark style you see here always mean, for example, now it means that whenever we're on dark mode, the background color will be a dark color. This X code you see here is a dark color. So that's how it says. And right now, it says that whenever we're on dark mode, the text in the navbar should be white. The color of the text should be white. So right now, I'm not going to go into details about these things. So just get a Tailwind course online on YouTube. You learn about how Tailwind works. It's super simple, very, very easy to use. Tailwind is super easy to use. So that's it now. So that's the first step. So once that is done now, we have to go down to our Tailwind config.js file. Tailwind config in the, where is it called? Yeah, in the export defaults, you have to add this line called dark mode. Right, so for most times I prefer it to just be a normal string. Yeah, dark mode, something like this. Just put dark mode and then input in this class. You have to do that, right? That's number 2 step. And the last thing you have to do now, it's not the last thing, but one more thing, go down to your app layout components, your app layout. Remember, that's our new parent components. The app layout is like the new parent components. So back to your app layouts components. Where are you? Open the UI components folder, and here we are. Yeah, so now we're going to simply wrap. This right now, this main tag is what is holding the entire project. We have the navbar, the pages in between the navbar and the footer, and we have the footer. So right now, this session is what holds the entire project. So right now, I'll come over here and I'll just put in another div, right? And I'll give it a class name of dark. I'm going to give it a class name of, I'm going to say class name should be equal to dark. You go down to our project now, you're going to see it's now dark mode is loading. Once it's done loading now, everything on our site now will turn. Right now, our site will switch from the lights mode to the dark mode. So once it's done loading, we are going to see it. As you can see now, it has switched from the lights mode to the dark mode, right? Just because of what I showed you, you had to go down to your tailwind.config, you put in this dark mode and then class, and back to your parent components, you put in another parent div and then put in the class name of dark. Right, once I remove this thing, to go back to the default, it's going to return back to the lights mode. Once I remove this, go down to the page now and refresh. Now it's now back to the lights mode. So right now, what we want to do is this now. You want to simply show this dark mode conditionally whenever something happens, whenever we toggle this switch, right? That's what we want to do. So how do we go about it? So first of all, I'm going to remove this dark class for now. So in our app layout, I'm going to declare I'm going to simply declare, what's it called? A state. I'm going to say const, I'm going to say dark mode. it's going to be, you're going to say dark mode, and I'll say set dark mode. And they're going to put a use state, set dark mode should be equal to use states. I will say false. So by default, dark mode is set to false. So I'm going to have to import use states from React. I'll say import use states from React. So we've got that imported. Yep. So put in the, yeah, what was it called? They call the semicolon. So now use state is now, our dark mode is dark mode now. This state is false by default. So right now I'm going to create a function. I'm going to say undo dark mode. So I want to make sure that whenever I want to simply work, whenever I toggle the switch, I want to simply change the value. I want to simply negate the value of this dark mode. If it is false, it's going to be true. If it is true, it's going to be false. Negate. So what I'm trying to do. So right now I'm going to say set dark mode. So simply just say set dark mode. We're going to just say current value. The current value is false. And then I'll simply negate the current value. If you negate false, it's going to be true. So that's it now. Right, so I have to just pass this to as a prop down to the nav bar, the dark mode, pass it here, and also undo dark mode. And we have to receive these two prop in the nav bar components. Where's our nav bar? So yeah, let me just copy them quickly. This is dark mode, paste it here, and undo dark mode, paste it here. So we got the two of them there. So now simply this, I'll simply just copy this function. And whenever I toggle the switch, the switch now listens for an unchecked, sorry, not here. How did I get there? How did I get back here? So back to the nav bar. So see now our switch now, it listens for a checked change event. I'm gonna say uncheck change. Right now the switch listens for a checked change event, just the way our input listen for an on click, just the way our form listens for a submit event. You get, and for example, also our input listens for a change event. That's how the switch listens for a checked change event. And whenever the what is it called? And whenever the switch is toggled, we want to simply call this function. And yeah, and over here, I'm going to say checked should be equal to dark mode. Remember, dark mode is either for a true or false value, and checked should be equal to dark mode. So that's it. And back to our app layout. So we're going to come over here and say, so we're going to simply add that dark class conditionally. We're going to say if dark mode is true, simply add the dark class, else add nothing. Right, so what we want to do now. So currently dark mode is false. Once we just refresh the page. So do this now. Ouch, it's not working. Let's see what the problem is. Okay, back to our code now. Let's go back to the navbar component. That's what I did wrong. Oh, see my mistake. Sorry, this is meant to be, it's not meant to be here. Sorry. It's meant to be inside. This is where it's meant to be. Yeah, this is where it's meant to be. So sorry for that. It's meant to be here and not in this. Remember, this is a state on its own. So I mistakenly had to impute the stuff there. It's meant to be here. That was the issue. I hope everything is fine now. Okay. So back here, refresh. So toggle, perfect. You can see it's working. If you untoggle it, you can see toggle, but there's a problem. We're not done. I'll show you what the issue is. The dark mode is taking effects already. It's taking effect already. But if I refresh the page right now, if I refresh the page, you can see right now, if I refresh, you can see it has returned back to the lights mode. That's wrong. If you come over here, you can see currently now with toggle, even if I refresh the page on the one we've done on the already built app, if I refresh the page, you can see we are going to still get our dark mode back again after refreshing the page. We'll get the dark mode. Just you can see we got our dark mode back again. But for this one, if it turn dark, if I refresh, it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to simply go back to the light mode, and we don't want that. So to avoid this, now we have to simply work with our local storage to make the states. We have to persist our states on our local storage, and I'll show you how right away. Okay, so here is where the challenge is. Back to our code now. So we have these states here by default shown. Sorry, not this. Yeah, back to our dark mode. So our dark mode now, the value by default is false. If we toggle the value to true and then refresh the page, dark mode will return back to false, right? That is how it is. So right now, I want to simply persist this value. If it is false, I want to make sure it remains false. Even after refreshing the page, it still remains false. If it is true, I want to make sure it remains true. Even after reloading, even after refreshing the page, it remains true. I want to make sure that the value only changes whenever we toggle. So for example now, dark mode is set to false. Once I toggle once I toggle the switch, dark mode is now true. But once I refresh this page right away, dark mode returns back to false. So we have to find a way to make sure we persist the value of dark mode even after reloading the page. It still does not change value. It only changes its value whenever we toggle the switch. So that's where our local storage comes in. So for now, I'm going to check now. I'm going to use effects hook. Yeah, I'm going to say use effects. Whenever our page renders, we want to check for something. Let's import use effects from React. Okay, whenever our page renders, I want to simply check for something, right? So right now, we just simply check our look. We're going to say if local storage dot get item, we just say dark. If local storage dot get item dark, if it is equal to nothing, if it is equal to null, that's nothing, right? Null. If it is equal to null, if there is no item called dark in our local storage, if there is no item, we're going to simply create an item. I'm going to say local storage dot set item. I will say dark should be equal to false, as in a string. False, a string, right? Should be equal to false. That's whenever right now we are going to check our local storage. Whenever the page renders, we check our local storage to see if our local storage has an item called dark. If it does not have any item called dark, we are going to simply create a new local storage item called dark, and we are going to give it this value of false as a string. You get. So right now, instead of us having to place false here, we are going to simply make it more dynamic. We are going to just say if local storage dot get item dark is equal to true. Is equal to true. So right now what we're doing here is the dynamic stuff. Now, so if this condition is true, that means dark mode will be true. The value of dark mode will be true. If this condition is false, that means the value of dark mode will be false, right? So what we are doing now is same. That's what we did there. Now you get, so we are trying to make this, we are trying to persist the value, we are trying to persist the value of this state called dark mode. So using our local storage now. So here is how it goes again. First thing first, once our page renders, we check our local storage to see if we have an item called dark. If there is no item, we simply set our local storage to, we're going to simply create a new item in our local storage called dark. We are going to give it a value of false. So right now we are not checking again for our dark mode. We are checking to see if the item called dark, if the value is true. If the value is true, that means dark mode will be set to a Boolean value of true. But if this condition is false, dark mode will be set to a Boolean value of false. So we are not done now. So back here, we are going to come back here now. And it's time for us to toggle. It's time for us to whenever we toggle, what we want to do is whenever we toggle, we want to simply update our local storage and also update our state. That's what we want to do. If our local storage is saying false, we want to convert it to true. It's simply for our dark mode. If our dark mode is false, we want to convert it to true. So whenever we toggle the switch, we're going to say we're going to say const new dark mode should be equal to the opposite of dark mode. So if dark mode is false, new dark mode is true. If dark mode is true, new dark mode is false. So we are saying new dark mode should be equal to the opposite of dark mode, and then we are going to just say set dark mode. Then we are going to simply update dark mode to the value of new dark mode. That's whenever we toggle the switch, right? So we are going to simply update the value of dark mode to new dark mode. So new dark mode now, the value is always the negative, it's always the opposite of dark mode. You get, so whenever we toggle the switch, the value of new dark mode is always going to be the opposite value of dark mode. If dark mode is true, the value of new dark mode is false. And then we are going to simply update our dark mode to the value that comes from new dark mode. And right now, then I'm going to say local storage dot set item. So I'm going to simply set item dark, right? Then I'm going to say if new dark mode is true, we are going to simply return true, right? Else return false. So with this now, we just persisted this state, this dark mode state. We just persisted it with the help of local storage. We have persisted the state of dark mode. So back to our browser now. So if you go down, you can open your local storage now. Local storage, let me open that, storage. Local storage. So you can see we have the value of dark mode, dark. Let me just clear out my local storage, delete all. So back to our home page. So now I'll refresh the page again, refresh. So what happens here is, see what happens. Let me explain what happens. By default, remember we didn't have anything in our local storage. So this is what happened. So we checked now, nothing was in the local storage. Then we had to now create a new item called dark and give it the value of false. What just happened over here? What just happened here? I'm going to do it again. Let me just delete these guys. I want to make sure you get what I'm saying. Oh, how do I delete them? I can't delete it again. It seems to, let me just try again, delete stack. So now if I refresh now, because there is nothing there, then it's going to create a new local storage item called dark, and the value is false. So the value is false now. And right now, the value is false. And for this use states, we are trying to see if the value is true. We are trying to see if the value is true, right? But currently the value is saying false. That means we're going to have a false value as a value of our dark mode state. Right, so right now for this undo dark mode is what is going to help us update our dark mode and also the local storage. So right now if I toggle this toggle, you see that the value of this dark will turn to true. You can see it turned true. It is not true. Right, so even if I refresh, the value is not true, right? As the value is true, that means this use states this dark mode is going to also be true. It's also going to be true, right? Even if I refresh, because the value from our use state, the value for our dark mode, the value comes from the local storage, right? Currently, the value is set to true. Once it is true, this dark mode state will also be true, right? So if I refresh this now, refresh. If I go back to my local storage, so the value is still true. You can see we are able to persist the state. The value is still true. And that's why we still have our dark mode active. Before, once we refresh the page, the true value goes back to false for this dark mode states. Right now, we have to persist it with our local storage, and now, even if you refresh the page, the value still remains true. It's only when you toggle the switch, the value turns false, and we have to go back to light mode. So right now, I just showed you how to implement the light mode and dark mode in a Django and a React project with the help of Tailwind. So that's it now. So we'll see in the next episode. Bye.